Hello, future billionaires. In today's video, we're going to discuss how to create a formula in Excel using the if function so you don't have to spend an astronomical amount of money on programming costs thinking you need an app developed for your business when you really don't. I just recently had a coaching client contact me indicating they needed an app built for their business to identify transactions that exceeded $100, and they wanted to label the transactions as overspend. They also wanted the transactions that exceeded $100 in red font. So I was sitting there listening to the requirements for which they were giving me, and based on the requirements that they gave me, the thing that immediately hit my mind was that they don't need an app built, they need Excel. And so I began to ask questions. I'm like, who is going to use this app that you want us to build? And he indicated that the only people that were going to use the app was him. And I explained to him that, look, you do not need to spend money in an app. You can actually use Microsoft Excel to actually build out the functions needed to pretty much meet the criteria for what you're looking for. So if only thing that you're going to use this app for is to identify transactions that exceed $100, and you want that in red font, in addition to, if you want those transactions to be detonated by overspend, I explained that he did not need an app built for that. So what we did is actually build out Excel formulas using the if function in Microsoft Excel for him. So if you're currently a business owner or someone that's actually, using Excel for personal uses and you really don't know how to use the if function in Excel, so what we're going to do is head over to a tutorial and show you on a basic level on how to use that if function for your personal use or for your business. So let's head over now to the tutorial so we can show you how to use the if function. Okay, so we're in the actual spreadsheet that the business owner sent over to me for which he wants me to format. So for today's demo, we're dealing with two audience users, right? We're dealing with beginning Excel users, and we're also dealing with more experienced Excel users. So I just ask the more experienced Excel users, be a little patient because I want to make sure the actual beginning Excel users really get this. So notice the date is in column A and the transaction amounts are in column B, right? Excel references cells for its data. So let's say, for example, for March the 1st. Notice the March the 1st date is in column A. However, it's in row 2. However, for cell references, since the date is in March, it's March the 1st, 2022, it's in column A, this would be considered cell A2. Why? Because March the 1st is in column A and it's in row 2. Same reference, we scroll down to March the 15th, right? March the 15th, again, is in column A, right? However, it's on row 8. So this would be considered cell A8. Let's go over to the transaction amount, right? 102.30 is in column B. However, it's on row 2. So this would be considered cell B2, right? Scrolling down, let's look at 152.36. 152.36 is in column B. However, it's on row 13. So this cell reference would be considered B, right? B13. And the reason why this is important to denote, because when I begin to build out this if function to show you this formula, we're going to build that if function based on a cell reference. So we're going to start at this 102.30. Again, 102.30 is in what? Column B, right? Row 2. So this would be B2. So when I build my Excel if function out, I'm going to put in the equal signs and I'm going to put in if, right? And I'm going to close this in with a left parentheses, right? And notice it's saying a logical test. So I'm going to say B2, right? B2. And notice that cell B2 lights up. Why? Because I'm telling it to choose B2. In a logical test that I'm looking for, I'm going to say if B2 is greater than 100, right? I want it to say overpayment. So I'm going to put in my comma, right? And the value, if it's true, it should say overpayment. And that's what I'm going to type in, overpayment. And I'm going to put in an exclamation mark. Then it's asking me for a value if it's false. If it's false, you know what? I just want to leave it blank. So I'm just going to put in the quotation marks, right? Twice. And one of the things I forgot to do is put in the quotation mark for overpayment, right? So I'm going to put in on the left side the quotation mark for overpayment, and I'm going to put in the quotation mark after the exclamation point. And the reason I want the exclamation point in there because I'm just, symbolizing that, it's definitely an overpayment, and I just want it to pretty much, be a big statement that, hey, this is definitely an overpayment. So I'm going to close it in with the right parentheses and put enter, right? So now it denotes overpayment. Why? Because I said if B2 is greater than 100, put in the word overpayment. But what happens if I change 102.30 to less than 100? And if I put in 99, let's see what happens. It goes to blank. Why? It went to blank because it is actually not greater than $100. So when I go back and put in 102.30, what it does, it puts in overpayment. So notice again, if I go back to 99, it's blank. If I go back and put in 102.30, overpayment kicks back in. Now, if I wanted to modify my if function statement to say, look, I know overpayment, if it says that if it's greater than $100, put an overpayment, that means it's true. But what if it's less than $100? And I want to put in another statement. And I just want to put in good job, right? So if I change this to 99, now it will say good job. Why? Because I said is if B2 is greater than 100, put in overpayment. But if it's not, put in good job. Okay? So I'm going to go back and take the good job out because I don't want that in there. Because the business owner didn't actually specify that for his requirements. He just wanted overpayment. So, going to leave overpayment in there. And I'm going to go back and change this to 102.30. The overpayment comes back up. So the next thing that I'm going to do, the option that I have is that I can actually manually key in this formula for each one of these rows by manually typing it in over and over, or I can just copy this formula over. So what Excel does, it allows you to copy this formula over to the other cells. So this is referencing B2, right? And you may be wondering, well, if you copy this over, isn't it going to just strictly pick up B2? No, because what Excel will allow you to do, once you copy this over to the additional cells, it will change the cell to the existing cell. So let's say, for example, if I copy this over to B3, right? Cell B3, and I do paste formula, right? So what it's going to do is going to put that formula over to cell B3, right? However, if I do another copy, right, just copy that again. Now let's say if I want to paste to the other cells, right? right click, paste formula. And so what it does, all the cells that are over $100, it's going to actually put in overpayment. But let's say I'm going to have some newly created cells where, I'm going to just say have additional 4 rows. I can take that same formula, copy it, right? And put in, go to line 20, go down to 24, right? And paste it, right? And paste formula. And so what will happen, the reason why I do that is because let's say if I put in 1 on 230, the overpayment will appear. So anything that's greater than 100, it will appear as overpayment, right? So if I go over here and just create another, let's say 105, overpayment will appear. So that's the great thing about Excel. You can take that same formula and paste on this whole entire cell and paste it down to, line 1000. And as you're keying in numbers that are over $100, that overpayment will appear. So I'm just going to go back and delete it. And notice that overpayment disappears. So the second requirement that the business owner wanted was that he stated that for transactions that are over $100, he wanted them in red font. So what I'm going to do is select cell B2 and go down to B19. However, let's say, I also want to, just make room for future cells. So I can just go down like I did for the formula and go down to, cell 24 if I choose to. Select it. And I'm going to go over to conditional formatting, right? And conditional formatting is based on conditions, right? So it's just specifying that, if there's a condition that I want to specify, I can specify what happens in that specific condition. So I click on conditional formatting, go over to new rule, right? And I can basically go over to format only cells that contain, and notice that there's cell value. So cell value is selected. I want to make sure that's selected. And I want to say greater than. So I'm saying cell value greater than 100. I want to format it. Click on format. And I want to change the color to red. But I also want to make it bold so it stands out. Hit OK. Hit OK. So now what has happened, 1 on 230, notice that it's changed to red font. Why? Because if I specify anything that's over $100, it should change to red font. Right? Now notice, if I go down to cell 20, because remember I took it down to cell 24 also. So if I go into cell 20 and I type in $1, it's not going to change the red font. If I type in 200, notice that it changed the red font and overpayment kicked in. If I go to 101, red font. Go back to 99, black font, removes the overpayment. Go to 105, red font and overpayment kicks in. Did you notice that? So let's say I also want, because the business owner wanted overpayment also in red font. So I'm going to go over to cell C2, drag it on down to, let's say I'm going to go to row 24 here. And I'm going to go back to conditional formatting. Again, I want a condition-based setting, so I'm going to go to conditional formatting, select new rule, and I'm going to go to format only cells that contain, and I'm going to change this from value to specific text. So I'm going to say specific text containing, right? And I'm going to type in overpayment, exclamation mark, and I also want to select format, change the color to red, and I want to make it bold also. Hit OK. So what has happened is that where overpayment is referenced is going to make it red font. Okay, so again, if I go back and change this to 99, notice that overpayment disappears. 99 is in black font, but if I go put in 101, notice that 101 turns to red font and overpayment turns to red font and it appears in the cell. So this has covered our tutorial for the using the if function. So ladies and gentlemen, a lot of times you do not have to buy an app or have an app program or spend money on programming. You can use Excel for simplicity to save your company money. So whether you use Excel for personal use or business use, you can save a lot of time and money utilizing this format. So comment below if there are any questions that you have about this video. If you want to see future videos for specific content with regards to Excel, post it in the comments below and we'll be happy to make videos on any questions that you have or any future content that you want to see related to Excel. We'll be sure to make videos on this. So if you have questions with regards to Microsoft Excel, post your questions in the comment section of this video, and what we'll do is produce a video to help answer any questions that you have about Microsoft Excel. So if you enjoyed today's video, like this video, subscribe so you can be kept apprised of all of our future upcoming videos.